The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and/or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
The life of comic fandom can be lonely, but just around the corner can be found a place that lets you know you're not the only nerdy true believer who's around. The comic book store, 'cause that's where the books live, but it's also much more. It's the heart of the art form that we all adore. Your friendly neighborhood comic book store. Out among the stacks of new releases, browsing with your future new best friends, you're gonna find a book you'll love to pieces. The girl behind the counter recommends dollar books and shelves of graphic novels. Titles old and new, you'll find them all. With action figures, board games, toys, and models to add to your new Comic Wednesday haul. The comic book store, 'cause that's where the books live, but it's also much more. It's the heart of the art form that we all adore. Your friendly neighborhood comic book store.
Well, here's the eye of the apple that we all adore. My goodness, we are on Comic Stripped, and that, my friends, is Evan Bevins. How do you do, sir?
I'm doing okay, ready to tackle this Herculean task.
Yeah, well, for those that don't know, I am the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And yes, we are contrasting Hercules, the Thracian Wars, versus Hercules, the 2014 movie adaptation starring The Rock says Dwayne Johnson. And we are slowly but surely moving through these odd, weirdo movie comic book adaptations one by one, Evan.
Yes, we are. Found out I knew more movies that came from this comic book company than I did comic books.
Oh, tell me about that.
Well, it's Radical Studios, I guess is the name of it. And this Hercules, the Thracian Wars, was one of their first publications. And and they also, helped adapt it into a movie. I think the first movie they did that I saw was Oblivion with Tom Cruise, which was based on a comic that was never finished or published.
Yeah, that's going to be on a triple feature later this year of comic book movies that don't have comics.
There you go.
Because that's one of them, and there are more than one.
Oh yeah,
and then I'll just cut you off as usual.
That's fine. Okay, it's probably good because sometimes I don't have anything else to say and I need an escape route. So, but yeah,
please stop me before I continue to talk.
Yeah,
it's Oblivion, Snowpiercer, and The Fountain.
Okay, yeah, and then so they did that. Hercules, then The Last Days of American Crime.
I've done that one with Alexis, as I recall.
Okay,
that was a Netflix movie. Yeah.
And then I guess there was a 2016 story called Abattoir that one of the guys who did Saw was attached to write and direct. But I don't think they're not doing any comics anymore. So
okay. Was there an actual Abattoir comic?
I believe so. That's what Wikipedia tells me. And if Wikipedia can't be believed, then I'm not sure. Let's see. Wow, that's a pretty cool poster. Horror film. Let's see. There's a really extensive synopsis of it.
Okay. My question was, did they ever...
Comic book prequel.
Okay.
He developed a comic book prequel to the film.
Oh, I see.
So it's not strictly an adaptation.
Got you. So it's like they did a comic book and they were like, the sequel to said comic book is this movie.
There you go. Or they did a movie and then the prequel was the comic book.
Yeah. I'm thinking like linearly in terms of narrative is what I was saying.
Yeah. So, so I had heard of that. And I had heard of this Hercules movie, but I was, I didn't remember a lot about it. So I was constantly surprised by who popped up in it and who the director was. I did not do a lot of research going in.
We are going to talk about that. Real quick before we get into the subject material at hand, have you seen the trailer for Red Sonja yet?
I have not.
Okay. When you do, I want your immediate reaction. I may not see it, I may not respond immediately, but I need to know your guttural, instinctual, emotional reaction to that trailer and the fact that I'm making you compare it to the original Red Sonja movie.
Okay. Fair enough.
Because Red Sonja has more than one comic, more than one book. The Red Sonja movie, as I understand it, I haven't looked at it too closely, but it was, kind of like Barbarella. There's this character that has existed in funny pages for an extended period of time. We are going to make a movie inspired by this tenure on the pages.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Red Sonja is of the same ilk. So this new movie, I also think is of the same ilk. I don't know. I don't think it's inspired by a particular book. Hence the idea of doing an on trial comparing the original Red Sonja to this interesting interpretation of the character.
I know Gail Simone wrote several Red Sonja comics in recent years, and I think when the trailer dropped, she did post on social media that they used some concepts from her run.
Okay, from her run though, but not like a particular
I don't think
series
so.
or anything.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but I have one very specific offbeat memory of Red Sonja comics, and it of course involves Wolverine.
Of course it does, Evan Devins. Of course it does. All right, let's get into Hercules. Before the swords, the screams, and the smell of Hollywood polish, there was a comic, as we've been talking about, called Hercules, the Thracian Wars. A brutal, unsentimental myth breaker written by Steve Moore and published by Radical Comics, as we mentioned before, in 2008. God, that was a long time ago, or it feels long. In it, Hercules isn't a demigod. He's a haunted mercenary. The legend, a lie. The labors, fabricated. His strength, real. But so is his guilt, Evan Bevins. This was a Hercules stripped of fantasy, reduced to blood, trauma, and the cold economics of fear. No gods, no monsters, just war. Fast forward to 2014, and The Rock says Dwayne Johnson is on the poster. Brett Ratner, you monster, is in the director's chair, and Hercules, the movie, is no longer a character study in post-traumatic myth-making. It's an action-adventure crowd pleaser, as most often are. PG-13, handsome, heroic, sanitized. The core conceit remains. Hercules is a man, not a myth. By the end of the film, the myth is not only embraced, it's redeemed. Where the comic deconstructed Hercules to expose the hollow core, the movie rebuilds him as a reluctant savior. One burns down the temple, the other gives it a fresh coat of paint. But here's the part that actually matters. Steve Moore, by God, didn't want to be credited. He wasn't paid. He wasn't consulted. He died before the film was released even. And despite his explicit wishes, his name was used in marketing. His friend Alan Moore, no relation to the actual Alan Moore, the other Alan Moore, called it exploitation.
No, I think it is that Alan Moore.
I see. I was under the impression it wasn't, but that's fine. Called the film wretched. That tracks. Called for a boycott. That also tracks. And while the movie made its money and The Rock moved on, Steve Moore's original work remains bruised but uncompromised. So today on Comic Stripped, we're comparing Radical's Hercules, the Thracian War, to its Hollywood adaptation, not just story to story, but as a case study. What gets changed when myth becomes marketable? What's lost when trauma is turned into spectacle? And what do creators owe and deserve when their legends are stolen? This is Comic Stripped. The aforementioned Evan Bevins, good to his mother, some language. Let's dig into Hercules, the man, the myth, the movie, and the mess behind it all. So what do you know about Steve Moore, your neighbor, your good friend?
Not much. I got a lot of it from the interview that was included. Did you have an interview with him in the back of the trade about how the story came together?
There may have been one. Two things about the trade that I got. It was used, the bindings coming apart, and I finished it last night after I got back from naked swimming. So I did not look at the everything beyond the end of the 5th issue.
We might have gotten the same one because mine is used, the bindings coming apart. But
this is an amazing publisher.
Yeah, I read the I read the interview this morning after. I don't know, like, my roof doesn't leak every time we do a podcast, but every time my roof leaks, we're doing a podcast that day.
Fantastic.
So anyway, I did not know a lot about him. I got him mixed up with somebody who wrote some Marvel comics, but from what I read in the interview, he would not have been caught dead writing Marvel comics, which is okay. He's just not into superheroes. I believe it was that Alan Moore who famously hates all adaptations of his work. And in some cases, he's been given good reason. Before I read that, okay, so I read the book, watched the movie, read this interview, and I'm like, I bet Steve Moore hated that movie. But it turns out he didn't get to see it. So yeah, he's done a lot of like comics like was it 2000 AD and Doctor Who? He's British. He was known for a lot of sci-fi type stuff, but he also like did a lot of like philosophical study and writing and stuff like that. So it sounds like he was smarter than I was. Maybe that's why I like superheroes and he doesn't. You know, him and Martin Scorsese, they don't think too highly of people like me. But I'm sorry. We all know the only way to truly reflect the human experience is gangster movies. But I digress. That was passive aggressive. Martin Scorsese's millions will insulate him from the hurt of my words. However, yeah. So Steve Moore did not know a lot about him going into this. I think that was the original question.
I like how you just like went on a rant there. Okay. Had you read?
I was triggered.
Apparently, you don't like gangster movies, huh?
I know. I have no problem with gangster movies. I just, isn't there a quote, maybe I'm misquoting him, where Scorsese was like, yeah, those Marvel movies, they're not art. They don't examine the human condition. And I'm like, the gangster movies? I mean, I know he's done other things, but it's like, I don't like this genre of movie, which is fine. It's lesser. It doesn't examine the human condition.
Yeah, that's wholly inaccurate. And that's, I don't think Martin Scorsese has ever actually watched a Marvel movie.
And that's fine. People can like different things, but no, I don't have a problem with gangster movies. You know, Criminal with a Heart of Gold movies get old to me, but
that's fair. I'm kind of in the same boat. I've got one leg in the same boat and one leg still in the water being eaten by piranhas.
But I mean, you know, a couple years ago we did a triple feature that included In Bruges, which when I saw the trailer for In Bruges, I'm like, no, thank you. But when I watched it, I'm like, this is actually really good.
Yeah, that was your pitch to me. Actually, it was that one you wanted to do.
Yeah, so it depends on the execution.
And did you read the comic book when it came out, or did you just since we decided to do this podcast?
I did not know it existed. When you said let's do a Hercules for comic strip, I'm like, well, it's not the Marvel one. And then I did not know it existed. And honestly, I was even I was like, is he sure this was adapted from it? You know, but no, I had no idea.
Okay. So the comic, the story takes place in barbarian Thrace in northern Greece. Hercules and his companions are hired by the Thracian king Cotys to train the Thracian army into one that excels in ruthlessness. You know, I made the mistake of watching the movie first, so I was doing a lot of comparisons that way, and I really should learn to just read the book first, so I'm not predisposed. But I would say the movie kind of follows the book pretty well. They don't spend a lot of time in the comic book doing what the movie does, which is really building up the myth of Hercules just to tear it down. They kind of, and maybe I'm remembering it wrong, I kind of sped read it over the last day, but it felt to me as I was reading the comic book, they were kind of in a rush to get Hercules to the point that he's leading the army, and then it's kind of about that journey. Like it's funny. I had a thought about this movie, and then my son said something, and it kind of coalesced for me because he hadn't seen 300, another one that we've done, the book and the movie, just as two separate podcasts because there wasn't a comic strip at the time. But the story of 300 is this, the journey of this army to confront the gigantic Persian army. And the story is this army's journey. And it feels like that's what they were going for in this comic book, where it's like, let's tell the story of this journey, of this war that happens, to where Hercules might be the name on the cover and the main character, but more so than the movie, the comic felt to me like it wasn't always about Hercules. There was a lot going on in this book, and it got really muddled for me. Let me say this one last thing, and I'll give you a chance to respond to my word vomit. Normally we do these books, both you and me and Jesse, where I have so much to say about the writing, about the themes, about the dialogue, and then you guys, but what about the art, Mark? The art is the thing, and I go pish posh. The art is nothing. I barely even notice the art, unless it's Scott Keith. In which case, I want to Sam Keith, either one, and then I want to poke my eyeballs out. But this one, I loved the art. I struggled with the narrative. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's I don't want to say it's hard to follow, but it's hard to kind of get a grip on what they're doing. It was in the interview in the trade, Moore said he got the feeling that the folks at Radical wanted to kind of capitalize on 300, which he proudly said he never read or watched.
Yeah, stylistically and aesthetically, this is a lot like the art in 300.
So I thought that they kind of drop you into the middle of it. Like, I think they don't set it up as cleanly as the movie does. Where it's like, here is Hercules, here is what he is doing at this point. You're just kind of dropped in. And the first issue, I thought was a pretty good twist, and it was. They let you know pretty quick that this is not heroic, loves puppies and children Hercules. I mean, they go into the alleged Lord Cotys, who has hired them, and they keep making jokes about how all Greeks want to have sex with little boys, and eventually Hercules takes offense and kills somebody, and then they try to kill Hercules and his pals, and they kill everybody, including women who were just like running out of the room, not even fighting or anything. One of Hercules' buddies is an enthusiastic cannibal. Although I think he probably does it for show. Like, in private, I don't think he eats many people. I think he just wants everybody to be like, "Oh, dude, Titus is a cannibal."
Sure.
And more of a social cannibal. But
when the myth is more powerful than the human, do the myth.
There you go. So yeah, it really, like, throws everything off. I'm like, what the heck is the point here? And a theme I kept coming back to all throughout the thing was, wait, so why do Hercules and his pals think they have the moral high ground here? It's like the first Deadpool movie. It's a bunch of murderers murdering slightly less likable murderers. But I mean, the twist where they kill all these people and they're like, okay, so now what do we do? And then they look out and like there's the actual army of Thrace and the actual Lord Cotys is coming. That was a pretty cool twist. And that made me want to get into the second issue. And like, I don't like any of these people, but I want to see what happens next. Then we get into the prepping for war and things like that. And, it was pretty clear, as the Thracians are going around murdering and raping people, that Steve Moore was not going, hey, isn't this cool what these guys are doing? And he even said in the interview, he's like, yeah, this Hercules is not someone that I would want to hang out with. And I'm no expert on Greek mythology, but I do know that a lot of this stuff, has come from, is extrapolated from that. I mean, I know when George Perez relaunched Wonder Woman for DC, he made it pretty clear what Hercules and his folks did to Hippolyta and the Amazons. And then in the JLA Avengers crossover that Kurt Busiek and George Perez did, when Marvel Hercules, who is an all-around nice guy, bit of a doofus, meets Wonder Woman goes, Hercules, as in the man who, dishonored Hippolyta, and Marvel Hercules goes, well, I mean, I did have the pleasure. And then Wonder Woman knocks the crap out of him. But so I knew there was some of that. So what I found interesting about it, was the idea of they extrapolated all this stuff out, and they didn't try to sanitize it, didn't, try to make it out to be like, well, it's okay that these, because these guys are nicer, so it's okay that they're murdering. But there were some points where Hercules and company are like, oh, we can't abide this. And I'm like, why? When did you grow standards?
It's muddled,
But I did like the approach, and they did keep this in the movie, although it wasn't as subtle. There was not much subtle in the movie, that where you're not quite sure if Hercules is, the son of Zeus. And every time they make you think like, hey, there's not going to be any God stuff in here. He's just a really big dude. Like they throw something in, like at one point they figure out Lord Cotys wants to not just unite Thrace, but attack Greece and then attack Olympus. And I'm like, do we even know if Olympus is a real thing? So I thought that was interesting how they sort of kept you guessing with that.
It's funny that that's your interpretation of it. Maybe it was there on the page, but because it's late and I'm speed reading, I missed it, which I'm willing to accept. Why I'm not like, this isn't here where I'm very much committed to one point of view on this. But I didn't get that sense. I got the sense that the movie definitely leans into, is he a god or isn't he? That's our whole selling point. The comic book definitely feels like this was someone who's a really big professional wrestling fan and kind of takes what they know about pro wrestling and applies it to ancient Greek history. Like, I am a mercenary. I get paid to fight. I want to get paid more to fight than what a normal mercenary would get, and I want to kind of get by on my reputation and not, if I can get out of fighting, then do that. So I'll have a gimmick, and my gimmick is that I'm the son of Zeus. And for me, like, that's kind of it. It's like Hercules in this comic just, to me, feels like he knows he's a fraud, but he's also a businessman, and he's also a general, and he's kind of just like trying to keep those three balls in the air, and there's just some stuff he has no control over, and so he has to be somewhat reactive, and that's kind of the whole book for me. This was not an easy read, other than the fact that it's narratively and ethically a little more muddled than I would have liked. But it's also not an easy read because I don't know why I should care about this character.
That's fair for sure. Yeah, that, like I said, whenever they took a moral stand, I'm like, where are you getting this? Like, you just felt like maybe we don't kill innocent bystanders today.
And that's why I interrupted you, because it felt like somewhere in the writing there was this like come to Jesus moment of, oof, I have not written a likable character. I better give him likable qualities. Here, I'll take a moral stance here. Okay, it's not really aligned with the rest of what you've done in this book. It matters not. As long as I make him, every 15 minutes there has to be a kill in a horror movie. Every 15 minutes he has to do something likable so that people will like him. Okay, but
well, and I think, honestly, a lot of his change was, oh, well, they can't dishonor Greece. They can't dishonor my home of Olympus if it exists. So it wasn't even, hey, this is wrong. It was like, oh, we don't necessarily like what these guys are doing, but Titius over here is, eating half of them, so we don't really we can't really throw stones. But it was more like, well, now you're dishonoring my homeland. Like, who cares what happens in Thrace, but you can't attack Greece. So it was more like them taking it personally, and it made it hard to relate to anybody. But I don't think at least judging from his interview, at any point was like, oh, these are good dudes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have seen stories where I've felt like the thing is, well, it's okay if they kill people because they have better banter. So I didn't feel like that was what he was doing, but at the same time, it's like it was like my reservations before I saw it and after I saw it about the Joker movie. It was like, okay, I get that it's a character study, but why do I want to see the Joker without any Batman or any light to balance him?
Yeah.
So like, I found it interesting, but at the same time, it's like, if you told me what this was about and I hadn't told Mark I would do the podcast, would I actually be reading this?
Can I ask you a personal question?
Sure.
Obviously, you're a comic book fan. I think that's one thing people should know about you. I don't know if people do. You like to read comics.
Yes, I do.
Does it bother you because I'm kind of doing these things blind? I'm going through a list, essentially. This is next on the list of things that were movies that were adapted from comic books. I don't know anything about them. I'm not a fan of them. I don't know if I'm a fan of them. I haven't read them. I don't know anything about them. I watched the Hercules movie in 2014 while I was working when it was on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Okay, that was my relationship to this entire property. Did not know it was a comic book. Found out after, kind of like, oh, that was a comic book. I just thought it was another stupid Dwayne Johnson movie. Like, oh, look, they needed a body, they found a body, and they made him Hercules. Who gives a fuck? I watched it out of boredom. But so my is there a question in this? Yes. My question is, because I'm not tailoring things to your specific needs or what's the word I'm looking for? Taste. Does it bother you when we do stuff like this, which is so wildly outside of anything you would read normally?
No. I mean, there's definitely things. I mean, we see trailers, we hear stuff, people recommend it, and we think, oh, I'd like that, or oh, maybe I wouldn't like that. But I like going into stuff. I am like super spoiler phobic, and I can't stand to know too much about something going in. So I like sometimes just picking up a comic or hopping in a movie that I don't know much about, and just to see where it goes. Now, the risk is that sometimes it can go horribly wrong. But other times, that there's stuff that if you told me the basics of it, I wouldn't have read. I'm sure I've done this I know I've said it on one of Jesse's podcasts, probably said it on yours before, but back when DC did the New 52 and relaunched everything, I was like, okay, I can get all this through the library. So at least the first volumes, I can read all of them. So that's what I'm going to do. Well, when they announced all 52 new comics, there was one that I thought was the stupidest idea of the entire bunch. I mean, there was stuff that I thought was cool. There was stuff that I wasn't particularly interested in, but there was one that I thought, why are you doing this? And it was bringing Barbara Gordon back as Batgirl. It's like, there's already been 38 other Batgirls. There's a Batwoman comic in this line. And you're taking Barbara Gordon, who was Oracle, who was paralyzed by a bullet fired by the Joker and became like the woman in the chair to the entire DC universe, superheroing via information.
Yeah. She was the woman in the van.
Yeah. And you're doing all this, and you're taking that out and making her just another lady with a bat symbol.
Right.
But because I was going to read all of them, I read it. Hands down, my favorite initial run of the New 52 was Batgirl.
Really? Oh, that's a fun story, actually.
Because Gail Simone wrote it. She just knocked it out of the park. I didn't think it was a necessary story, but I loved how she handled it.
Okay.
So, and if I hadn't been like, well, I'm going to read all of these, I probably wouldn't have read it, and my first impression would have been wrong.
Okay, that's fair. My other thoughts on the book, and then we can move on to the movie. I like the art. I don't like the coloring. I like the shading and the inking, but everything is beige. This is a very beige book, and it's so funny. I started to say it before, then you kind of said it, and now I'm going to say it again, so make sure I confuse everybody.
That's what we're here for.
It's funny. My son said something about like this is when he was watching the movie, he's like, this is a very ugly movie to watch. Like, why? He didn't quite say it this way. This is the way I said it, but I'm gonna say what he said as me. This is a very piss-colored movie. And 300 because it was Zack Snyder, and Zack Snyder is in love with three things. Zack Snyder loves three things. Okay, he loves piss color, slow motion, and grain. He loves grain. Evan just wants to do things to grain that can only be done at sex parties. That's what he likes. He likes the grain. This is Zack Snyder.
Also, 3-hour runtimes, 3+ hour.
That would go into the slow mo. Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I never thought about that. If you took out all the slow mo, they'd probably all be like
20 minutes,
an hour. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, so we're watching Hercules, and he's just like, "What's with the piss colored movie?" And I'm like, "Oh, if you like piss color, you should check out 300." And it was like you said something about this before. Like, I'm reading through this comic, and I'm like, why is there no color in this? The only time there's color, the only time that there's like real like contrast, and I say this with an appreciation of like what makes a comic book really fun. Why are comic books attractive to especially young boys? And then these boys grow up to men, and they never let go of it. And sometimes they start arguments in chat rooms about it.
I feel like you're getting a little personal here.
I don't think so. Not even a little. But there's like comic books are like naturally very colorful. They're otherworldly. Like you open up a comic book, and this world is colored in a way that will never match reality. And and it takes you away. It transports you, as all good reading should. And I'm opening this, and I'm like, I'm not transported. Or where you're transporting me, I don't want to go to. I don't want to go to piss color world.
Well, I think that's part of the point here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the color, kind of reflects the mood of everybody. I mean, how many people in this book have a death wish?
Everyone's piss colored? That's their mood?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
I mean, how many people in this book have a death wish? Or at the very least are like, I'm ready to check out whenever. Or Autolycus, who his end goal is, I'm going to steal whatever I can steal.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So I think, it's unpleasant, but and I guess if they had gone like way the other way and made it like super colorful and cartoony, but with the exact same content, that would have been kind of interesting too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think it matches it. I mean, it's not supposed to be a fun poppy escapist kind of thing. It was like, it's almost like, hey, remember the myths and stories of, impossible deeds and epic heroes? Yeah, they were full of crap.
Right.
Which I think is a valid and interesting point, because we can certainly sugarcoat things and, ignore the warts of history and stories. And
the idea of the book is the best part of the book for me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another thing about this. So Radical Comics is not Marvel or DC, and I say this knowing full well that like Dark Horse, for example, made very adult fare. Sometimes there was nudity, sometimes there wasn't, sometimes there was an illusion of nudity, sometimes there wasn't. If Radical Comics didn't necessarily have any handcuffs, I think this should have been more of an adult book.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say that as a dirty pervert, though I am one. I say that as I think it would have actually helped with the grit of the book.
Yeah. I mean, I was honestly surprised with some of the dialogue and stuff that there wasn't nudity or more.
That's
adult
kind of what I'm saying. Is like you're saying it, and that it's like me. It's like I'm at a sex party, and I'm just like, let me tell you about the sex party I'm at. We'll show the sex party. No. I'm just going to tell you about it. I'm going to speak the dialogue of said sex party. Like, well, why don't you just show us what you're in, what you're around? No. I'm just going to tell you. I'm just going to talk about it. That's this book for me.
The funny thing was, as I was reading this, and I like in retrospect.
One sec. So we have people pop in and out of here. Our counter went up one at the moment I said sex party, and it went away, and it went again. Whoever that was, mwah. Keep going.
Apparently, they came for my takes, not yours.
I hope.
But like I said, I didn't know this was based on a comic, and then I had it in my head without doing any research. Because, like I said, I wanted to go in and be surprised that, okay, well, this must be this comic book's take on the Thracian War, and then somebody made a Hercules movie about the Thracian War, about the myth. So I'm actually reading this, and I'm going, if these people weren't so awful and unlikable, this could be a pretty cool movie. Knowing full well that I was getting ready to watch a movie, but until I'm watching, I'm like, oh, it really was based on the comic. Yeah. Mark didn't get pranked by a rogue Wikipedia edit.
I love the idea of the book. I just wish they'd done more with it. I kind of wish it had been. Weirdly, I wish it had been more violent and sexy, because it keeps pointing at it from about 100 yards and then doesn't really lean into it.
Wasn't that your take on Here as well?
Yes.
More violent and sexy.
Needed more sex and violence. There's a theme. And now here's a Betty and Veronica. It lacks sex and violence. Well,
clearly you didn't read Archie versus Predator too. Anyway.
I did not. But I did listen to your podcast on it.
That wasn't me.
Yeah, it was Jesse's. But the last thing I would say is, like, again, everything's piss colored except for the parts where the one character has to, like, kill everybody in the room. And it's so funny because like I've been the Rock in those moments. It's like, look, we need to regroup. Everyone needs to come together and we need to talk about things and we need to figure it out. No, I will run forward and kill everybody. And I'm like, ugh, why doesn't no one listen to me?
Speaking of the group chat.
But every time they did that with him, it was just like splatters of red everywhere. And it was the only color in the book. That was the point that I was getting to an hour and a half ago. Give me the last word. What did you think of this book overall?
I thought it was well written. Thought it was well drawn. Not something I want to revisit.
Yeah, this is going to go on the shelf, and we'll never speak of the shortcut again. So, all right. Hercules 2014 is an American action-adventure fantasy film directed by Brett Ratner, you monster. Brett Ratner also involved with Money Talks, Rush Hour, The Family Man, Rush Hour 2, Red Dragon, After the Sunset, X-Men The Last Stand, hence my calling him a monster.
Wait, that's why you're calling him a monster?
I don't want to talk about the real reason.
Okay. Well, but can I just have one note about X-Men The Last Stand?
You can have as many notes as you want.
Okay. It's not good. It's not as good as the first two X-Men movies. It wastes a lot of characters. But here's why it gets a thumbs up for me on the pass-fail scale. Because as the big battle is gearing up and the Dark Phoenix saga is still being treated as a B-plot, the Beast, as beautifully personified by Kelsey Grammer, realizes they're in trouble and says, "Oh, my stars and garters," and delivers that line that is the Beast's trademark catchphrase from decades of comic books as perfectly as I could have imagined it to be. So, you want me to talk about the various highs and lows of X-Men The Last Stand? I can do it. If you ask me, X-Men The Last Stand, good movie or not? Good movie. Based solely on that.
Your opinion is valid.
Why, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, then.
I'm just saying there's all kinds of problems, and I will not defend anything, but I will say that made it worth it.
Well, the irony of that is I've actually done an entire podcast defending X-Men 3: The Last Stand.
Oh.
Believe it or not.
You could have just used that.
No, I wanted you to have your say. But I was thinking about that.
You could have used that on the podcast.
From decades ago? Or from years ago? Sure.
Jesse can edit me in.
To my podcast that he wasn't on?
Yeah.
Do you have any other...
People record and manipulate stuff that's not theirs on the internet all the time.
You're like my girlfriend. You like to give me suggestions I will absolutely not be taking.
That's fair.
Anyway, I'm off the market, ladies. Anyway, from a screenplay by Ryan J. Condal and Evan something Greek. It stars Dwayne Johnson as Hercules, a self-proclaimed demigod who was hired to lead the armies of Thrace into a battle against a warlord. Ian McShane, Rebecca Ferguson, Rufus Sewell, Joseph Fiennes, Peter Mullan, and John Hurt also star. The film is based on Steve Moore's graphic novel Hercules, yada, yada, yada. It was released by Paramount Pictures, former studio, on July 25th, 2014. It was one of 2 Hollywood studio Hercules films in 2014, the other being Lionsgate, The Legend of Hercules. Is that the one with Bob Sapp?
I do not know. I know I didn't see either of them.
Was there like a more recent Conan movie?
Yeah, with Jason Momoa.
That's the one I'm thinking of. That's the one with Bob Sapp. It's funny. That's what I remember about it. The film became a
you know that other Hercules movie? It reminds me of Conan.
Yes. The film became a box office success, earning $244 million on a $100 million budget, and received mixed reviews from critics, with some praise for Johnson's performance. I take issue with that. And
it's just a little art house film by today's standards.
Yes, really. It's it's a little indie. The screenplay and plot received criticism. All right, so this largely follows the same plot as the comic book. These are actually, it's in terms of like strict adaptation to where it's not in name only and it actually follows the beats of the source material. I actually think the movie does a really good job of more or less following the plot of the book. Would you agree?
More or less, yeah.
Okay. I mean, there are some obvious differences, but for the most part, it's the same story. He's a mercenary. They get him to lead the army. They are betrayed. And then he takes out the bad guys in the entire army with giant feats of strength.
Yep.
The way they treat the women is borderline abusive.
Wait, in this movie, they're practically, it's practically feminism by comparison to the comic.
Yeah, by guys in the comic, it's still not good.
Oh no, not at all. And at least they didn't have somebody coming right out and going, it's just the women and the slaves. They don't count.
It's going to be on my epitaph. Women and slaves don't count. Here lies Mark Rattledge. Anyway, my casual misogyny aside, the movie's okay. I need to talk about The Rock. Can we have a discussion about The Rock for just a moment?
Sure. Let's know what you're cooking.
Absolutely.
Did I do that correctly?
You Rudy Poo candy ass.
Thank you.
The Rock has become a better actor than when he started. But I think The Rock is a victim of whoever is directing. And if the director doesn't quite understand what to get out of The Rock, or just focuses a little too much on his physique and his charisma and not on his actual line delivery, you get some wonky ass performances out of him. Like John Cena, I think, developed a natural aptitude for acting that The Rock, I don't think, ever had.
Most of the time, you just want The Rock to be The Rock. I mean, not knowing anything about this movie, I thought someone was just like, okay, we got The Rock. Let's have him be Hercules. Okay.
Yeah.
I imagine the pitch was something like that.
Yeah, it's not Hercules played by Dwayne Johnson. It's Hercules played by The Rock.
Yeah.
He walked in rock bottom, the best boy, told the key grip to take it, to take it and shove it up his candy ass, that sort of thing. And they're like, all right, put on this lion head. Now go out there and do a promo. The Rock says you Greece people know your damn role and shut your hole. Anyway, so
Shield wall.
That's right. Shield wall. So when he's barking, or it's funny, when The Rock has to lead the army, he's giving good performance. I think he fell into that really naturally. But there were some emotional beats he fucking sucks at, and it's like I felt like Peter Griffin watching Megan the Play. I'm very aware I'm watching a movie. I was not drawn in by his performance at times. I was quite repelled. There are times where he has to kind of react big, and it is as awkward and as silly as when Darth Vader finds out Padme is dead and has to do the No, which everyone has memed to death.
Wait, I haven't seen that one yet. No, I'm
So
kidding.
anyway, I'm not gonna let you beat me. So there's too much of that in this where, like, I don't know if Brett Ratner, like, did you hand that over to the second unit director? Did you just not care? Or are you, like, developmentally disabled and don't know that's terrible? Or even worse, it's the 100th take and that's the best one. I don't know what happened with some of these takes that made it to Final Cut, but my daughter was on her phone, my son was watching, I'm watching, and all three of us laughed at it. It was bad enough that the 14-year-old girl got up from her phone and was like, tee, and my son, who had been watching the movie and saw that, got up and declared, like, threw his helmet down and the ball and said, "That's it, I quit. This movie sucks." Like, I can't disagree with you. Who's the other one that I kind of laughed at his performance at times? Ian McShane. Ian McShane, I feel like, deserves better than this movie. And I think he's trying, like, in his performance, he's trying to make something of it. But I don't think Brett Ratner was right for this movie.
I mean, I kind of think that maybe Brett Ratner was just like, okay, I got The Rock, I got Ian McShane, let's make it happen.
Did Ian McShane, who's a real actor, had to have been like, what do you need from me here in this scene? What's my motivation? Like, what, like Ian McShane's going to Brett Ratner and, like, asking for dramatic direction, and all Brett Ratner can do is hit your marks. Just say your lines and hit your marks. I trust you.
And I'm not I'm not mocking his ability or knowledge. I'm not a student of Brett Ratner film work, but his big arrival was Rush Hour, which was kind of like, well, let's just let Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker be Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker and see how that works out.
It's broad action comedy where you're overly reliant on natural performance. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed Ian McShane. I mean, I felt like he was totally over the top. And that worked. This might be the only movie where I have not hated the character that Rufus Sewell played. Now, I went through, because I'm like, let me look. I'm going to talk about all the movies I hated Rufus Sewell in, and I could only find a couple that I'd actually remembered seeing him in, which was A Knight's Tale, where he was a jerk, and then Bless the Child, where he was a satanic jerk. So
fantastic.
I do like that movie. Yeah, so that was, I just kept, like, waiting to hate him, and I'm like, oh, yeah, Rufus Sewell, this is I would not have, like, Rufus Sewell, charming rogue action hero. But it works. So they kind of, but yeah, I mean, it was like those guys, and they're like, and you know why we love The Rock? Because he helped us out. We've been friends with him. We've been friends with The Rock, and we're loyal to, Hercules. We're totally loyal. So I don't know. I found Ian McShane and Rufus Sewell entertaining, and I did like what they did with Cotys. That someone was like, maybe we shouldn't make him a happy cannibal.
Yeah, we're going for PG-13 here, kids.
Yeah, I mean, usually one thing that I hate, as much as I don't love blood and gore and excessive violence, is I hate when movies want to be as violent as possible, but just pull up just short of an R rating. So there's, like, a bunch of violence and a bunch of nameless people die bloodlessly. I hate that. So I was actually kind of impressed at times that they managed to keep it at PG-13, but, like, the violence seemed to have a cost. I mean, it took a while before.
When he knocks over a giant statue and it crushes the army and nobody bleeds?
No, not that part. But in the first battle, where the people who all look like David Harbour has been working out and starving himself, that one, I was like, I don't know. The violence was ugly, and somehow they kept it PG-13. And even though nobody with a name died there, that one soldier who we had seen his face died and his friend felt bad. I mean, I'm not saying this was a masterful meditation on the cost and impact of war. I'm just saying they managed to give it a little more weight than the average PG-13 bloodfest or non-bloodfest. Also wondered why they didn't just bring the chariots in the first place.
Yeah. I like that this one leans a little bit more into Hercules. I like that they played with like, well, is he a myth or isn't he? Is this a gimmick? What is this? I'm not sure how I feel about their resolution to that, where it kind of gets like, I don't want to say Disney-fied because then I have to explain what I mean by that. So why don't I just explain what I mean by that?
Okay.
This is a child's interpretation of mythology. This is definitely boys' power fantasy. Like, that's how this comes across. Like, this got dumbed down to like a 7-year-old's level, and it's so funny that like my son outwardly rejected it because he's like well past this. But I think if he showed it to his friends and gave them copious amounts of ADHD meds, they could get through it, and they would be like, I want to be Hercules too. I have a Hercules inside of me. And that's kind of what I'm getting at, is like this idea of within you is this power god warrior figure, which I actually think is nice.
You'll finally see it's true that a hero lies in you.
That is correct. We are all Captain Planet. But I know like we're all over the road here. But that's what I mean. Like, I don't know how I feel about that as if it serves the film well, but as an abstract idea that what this film is saying is within you, within all of you little boys who are not watching this movie, your father is and doesn't understand why this message is here. Also wants to see more tits and killing. But for the imaginary 7-year-old who was supposed to watch this movie, you too can grow up to be Hercules. You too can be, you have the power inside of you. That's what they're doing there at the end. They're kind of doing a He-Man thing. He's Adam and then he's He-Man, changes into this power god figure. Which is a departure from the comic book as near as I could tell.
Well, the comic did, when he escapes from, they did at least keep the pulling the chains and smashing heads with it. That seemed to me in the comic to go, no, he really does have superhuman strength.
Okay.
Like that seemed to me to, when the comic tipped toward, there's something to the legend.
Okay.
And it didn't, they were more, it's hard to say explicit, but not in terms of the violence and sex and whatnot, but they were the stuff that was just kind of running under the surface in the comic that they had to explain. Like, I don't remember a lot in the comics of, is Hercules a man or is he a myth? And we tell these stories to do this where they're actively explaining that in the movie. And I get why Steve Moore wouldn't have wanted, like, I saw what he wrote and I get why he wouldn't have wanted his name on this. Because that's not what he was going for. But, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I don't think $100 million movie that's a super faithful adaptation to the comic gets greenlit.
Not at all.
I wouldn't think it would make $200 million, although I have been wrong with certain movies making money that I didn't even want to pay a single ticket price for. And I'm not sure why a whole bunch of people would. So I'm not always right, but like that would not have been $100 million movie starring The Rock, because I'm not saying the comic story wasn't worth telling, but I'm saying a lot of people wouldn't want to watch that. And as flawed as the movie was in many ways, like I told you, I don't have any desire to revisit the comic. I'm not going to be like, hey guys, come over and watch Hercules. It's cool. But if it was on TV while I was straightening up the house, or I just wanted something mindless on in the background, I'd watch it again.
Yeah, it's kind of the last thing I wanted to say about the movie. When I watch something like Lord of the Rings, one of the things I like about it is, in terms of like fantasy, is like comparable fantasy. Settings change. There's there's stark contrast between the setting. When you're in Mordor, you know you're in Mordor. When you're in the Shire, you know you're in the Shire. Gondor and Rohan can get a little mixed up, but even so, there's some aesthetic differences. You know, Gondor is mostly in the White City. There's the tree that, you know, Pelennor Fields is Zack Snyder's fucking wet dream. It's just all grain. As opposed to Rohan, you know, there's always horses in every frame because it's horse country, that kind of a thing. Also, like I said, a lot of the Two Towers at least gets spent in Helm. The entire third act gets spent in Helm's Deep. You know, Rivendell looks very different from everywhere else. So, like, even if you're, and I'm thinking about this because I read an article about how now movies are made assuming you'll be on your phone the entire time. Which, because I think there was something about like how dialogue has evolved over the past 20 years. Movies are now written as more dialogue heavy because you can listen to it while you're scrolling on your phone. It assumes that's what you'll be doing. So it doesn't make scenes aesthetically, visually interesting anymore because why bother? You're not watching. Like I said, Lord of the Rings, every scene's a painting. Every scene, you're like, I'm in a new place. I have to pay it. This is making me pay attention to it. My problem with this Hercules movie is that there's no contrast from scene to scene. There are different set pieces, and even if you're like, but that's the aesthetic, I can deal with like a 300 kind of a thing. But even 300, there was change. Like, some of the stuff with the Persian army is so fucking out there. I know I'm at a different place in the movie. As opposed to, you know, I'm constantly shooting the entire movie against this rock face.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Hercules, I don't feel like enough time and effort went into differentiation from one set piece to the next. It all kind of feels like the same. Like if someone were to tell me, like, what's your aesthetic for this movie? Like, what's your color palette? Barbecue. That's what it looked like. Like, it's the color of barbecue. And I'm like, why would you do this? You know, it's kind of like a less impressive Mordor aesthetic. You know, everything just kind of slightly red, kind of a burnt black. There's some brown and beige in there. And I'm like, all right, I guess you're trying to go for what the comic book was going for. But you still need to, like, you have to go somewhere else. You have to change things, or you have exactly what I just said at the beginning of this rant, which is, this isn't a movie worth watching. It's a movie. It's a movie worth listening to. It's a radio play that occasionally you look up and a guy gets like, and that's the other thing, because they went for PG-13. None of the action's very interesting, and and I know, like, coming from me, this is a worthless statement. So pretend I'm somebody else, so it's valid. There's not enough sex in this for what this is supposed to be. Like, and I heard somebody say this, and I think it's very true. This looked like a kind of expensive episode of Xena Warrior Princess, or whatever the it was like a Hercules show that they used.
Yeah, Hercules.
Yeah. What was the whole full name of that show? Was it just
Hercules: The Legendary Journeys?
Yeah. This looks like if Hercules: The Legendary Journey ended with a, you know, with a movie to cap off the series, but they kept the same budget.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, I think the ideas in the comic were more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But they were trying to get this, I guess, to appeal to the widest possible audience. And
boy, is that a thing we keep saying in every one of these podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, I'm noticing, like, if there's like, what is the through line through all of these podcasts that you're doing, is like, the book is always so much more interesting, and the movie dumps good ideas from the book to appeal to a wider audience that didn't watch the movie.
That didn't read the comic, you mean?
No, watch the movie.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, yes. Okay, I'm with you.
We have not done a blockbuster yet. I don't care what they say. $244 and $100 million budget is not that big a deal.
No. There were a couple things, and these are more low level things, but there were a couple things that kept taking me out of the movie. And one, I wrote my notes as I was watching this. Shield wall is their flying V. Like, I was not expecting to get Mighty Ducks comparisons with this movie. But yeah, whenever he's like, Shield Wall is your home, I just saw The Rock going, Flying V.
I wasn't gonna like throw this into ChatGPT to make it into a 1 minute TikTok, but I'm compelled to now just so I can say Shield, so I can have a title that comes up on TikTok that says Shield Wall is this movie's Flying V.
Absolutely, it is. And like that, and I mean, and I know enough to know that like the phalanx is a real tactic or whatever that was in the comic, but Shield Wall, like I think they just did that because they're like, well, if we say phalanx, most people won't know what we're talking about, and people like Evan will think it's the robots that tried to kill the X-Men. Phalanx Covenant was great stuff, man. The Phalanx was one of those comic villains that the first time they show up, you're like, oh crap. And then eventually they're just like, oh man, those guys are stealing our cable. And they left the water running in the bathroom.
No, the robots that kill the X-Men are the Sentinels.
The Phalanx were an evolution of the Sentinels that got crossbred with aliens. And just trust me, the Phalanx Covenant was a good comic.
I believe you. Also, comics are a silly piece of business.
Yeah. But so that kept taking me out. What was the other thing that kept taking me out of the movie?
The Rock's terrible overacting at times.
Yeah, there was that. Oh man, I lost it. This is great. This is great podcasting and video right here.
Listen, if you're going to bring notes, you have to act like you don't have notes.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, so
or hold the book up like Alexis does and read verbatim.
Okay, well, yeah, but I'm talking about the movie, so I'm out of luck there. I don't know, that was the one that kept bugging me, was the Shield Wall. No, I really thought I had one other point. But my main thing was like I found some of the. I liked Rufus Sewell. I liked Ian McShane. Probably doesn't help that I refer to them as Rufus Sewell and Ian McShane instead of Autolycus and the other guy. But it like I understood why they changed what they changed, but they did just enough to get a movie greenlit, and it's not really very memorable.
Yeah, I'm sure for Paramount they were perfectly happy with this. I mean, would they have liked more? Who doesn't want more? There's always more. But, did Brett Ratner know the assignment and accomplish the assignment? Minimally, yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. C student here. The other thing that surprised me is when I checked the running time, because it's been a crazy week. So I'm like, when am I going to have time? And I'm like, 98 minutes? So this is an epic about a legendary Greek hero where we flash back to his alleged adventures and legendary feats. And then he helps a king conquer an entire country, and not even 100 minutes, which it's kind of like one of my many favorite lines from the Muppet Christmas Carol, where Statler and Waldorf are you knew when you picked this that we were going to talk about Mighty Ducks and the Muppet Christmas Carol, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's why.
So
why do you think I keep doing podcasts with you?
There you go. So Fozzie makes a speech at the company Christmas party, and Statler and Waldorf, as the Marley brothers, are up there heckling him, and the guy's like, it was dumb, it was obvious, it was short, I loved it. So I mean, at least they didn't ask me to give more than even 100 minutes of my time. So it's like, I was entertained. I had issues with it. I'm not going to rush right out and buy it. I'm not going to seek it out. But
can I tell you, when you talk at times, you tap into my sadism kink, and the way that I want to torture you is make you like sit down and do a live react to Oliver Stone's Alexander. See, that's the reaction I wanted.
Hey, I mean, I'll watch a long movie if I'm not, sitting there counting the minutes. But
I kind of wanted you to blink twice at me and your hat just flip over.
Sorry, I'll work on that for next time.
To Evan, I want you to do a live react to Oliver Stone's Alexander.
look, you have drilled into me over and over. Stop with the visual jokes. I haven't even held up the graphic novel. Originally I was going to start this off by going, Mark, I got totally mixed up. I read the 80s Hercules limited series from Marvel where he challenged Galactus to a drinking contest and watched Black Adam. But I tried to play it straight for you.
I want to know more about this drinking contest.
I have not read that one.
Oh, you disappoint me.
I know.
I do have both volumes of the Mighty Hercules run that came out of the Incredible Hercules that came out of the Incredible Hulk.
That was one thing that I totally forgot when we were talking about the comic, but you can edit this back in, right? We're not live. The one of the variant covers where Hercules is getting crushed by his name.
Yeah.
That Jim Steranko, famous comic artist, that is an homage to an Incredible Hulk cover that was homaged as a variant cover in Incredible Hercules. That's the one I sent you in our chat.
Yeah, it's the cover of one of the trades that I have, I think.
Yeah, so that was pretty. That Hercules is a character that like I've always kind of liked, but I've never. When I read the early Avengers stuff and he showed up, I loved him, and he's a character like I've always thought positively of, but I've hardly read anything where he wasn't in a team book, or guest starring with somebody.
He definitely feels like he belongs on a team. I'm eventually gonna make Jesse do the entire Hercules run, both volumes, because I also like to torture him. I like to torture all my friends. That's our relationship. But did I tell you he put me on a 12-issue cap? He was like, no more than 12 issues anymore. Because
you had him do like 25 issues of Darth Vader or something.
Yeah, it was Darth Vader finally broke him. He was like, dude, enough.
Yeah, you know what? Halfway through that, Jesse was going, no!
No!
Yeah.
Well, all right.
You mean Jesse should do the Hercules limited series where he challenges Galactus to the drinking contest.
You tell him and I'll be there. I will
right.
absolutely be there. Is that was that in the 90s? Was that like...
I think it was 80s.
Oh, well, it can't be an unspoken issues then, of which I am banned because I annoy people. Which I'm fine with.
That's why we get along.
Yeah. All right, folks. Dueling annoying people is the end of our show. So, overall, like, if you're Hercules is definitely like one of those movies where, like, if you can find it free for streaming and you don't want to think about what it is, if you're one of those people who gets annoyed by criticisms of movies, you just want to enjoy stuff, Hercules is fine. It does not survive under any kind of scrutiny, as you've heard for the past 30 minutes. So next time is the best time. Unless one of us has to cancel. Myself and Evan Bevins.
Or my roof caves in.
Buy a new house.
Okay.
This seems like the right time to be financially reckless, by the way. In the year
definitely.
2025. We will be back. There's a Netflix, I believe, cartoon movie adaptation of Nimona. So I bought the book for Nimona, and we're going to talk about it. How do you feel about that?
Don't know a lot about Nimona.
Really?
Let's see. Now, I don't think I'm old enough to be recommended for the Nimona vaccine. So, although I do get a flu shot each year.
So it won a whole bunch of awards, and apparently it is one of those books that gets recommended to kids in school. Have either of your daughters read Nimona?
No.
Okay. Well, that's what we're doing. God damn it. It's on the list. So that's what's coming up next for you and me. In the meantime, this past week, starting with Sunday, myself and Jesse and Robert Cooper and Mick Wanamaker did the Metal Hammer of Doom Jukebox. We reviewed the new Bloodywood album and talked about that. Monday was our Superman review, which Robert protested and read the tax code during. Wasn't the tax code. I think it was a Stephen King book, but that's been the joke. Wednesday, myself and Alexis suffered. We also reviewed I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Amazon Prime series. Boy, you're not the only...
know that existed.
No one does. And for good reason. And you're not the only one who I make do things that I haven't vetted. I just picked it because there's a new movie coming out, and I'm like, oh, we should look at the series. You like horror? That was my whole thing. And then by the time it was done, Alexis gave me that look that Jason often gives me of, why did you make me do this?
But at least you went with you like horror.
It's true. I did try to find something appealing about the project. Thursday, Mick, Sean Comer, and I talked the I Know What You Did Last Summer trilogy. This week, Sunday night, myself and Jesse will be reviewing Black Mirror Season 7. Monday is the I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025 movie review on Damn You Hollywood. Wednesday, Alexis and I will be joined by the Canadian Heartbreakers, Andrew Graham and David Wright, for The Bear, Season 4. And then on Thursday, we're taking a break from Synergy and just having fun. We're going to have fun, Evan Bevins. 2025 is the year we have fun on the Radical Toyz Broadcasting Network. Not just do things just to do them, but do things because they're fun.
So what are you doing?
The Oceans trilogy.
Okay. Oh, like as in 11, 12, and 13?
Those are the movies, yes.
Okay.
So
my brother really likes Ocean's 12, and I refuse to watch it again because talk about a movie that felt even longer than it actually was.
I love the first Ocean's movie. I've enjoyed that trilogy. I like a good heist movie, so the Oceans trilogy has been one of those that's been on my list to do for a while, but for a while we weren't doing Long Road to Ruin, so we never got to it.
What? But you're not doing Ocean's 8?
No, women are dumb. I'm taken, ladies. I want to go ahead and remind you.
The views expressed in this podcast do not necessarily or explicitly reflect the views of me either. Okay.
Towever, there is a sessions coming up July 25th. We're going to be doing track 10 for the Radical Toyz Broadcasting Network, the album Radical Toyz Broadcasting Bingo, inspired by Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, Evan, I hear you do a blog and paint houses.
Yeah. My blog is *51.blogspot.com. Today I shared the story of a parenting fail of mine involving the obscure Sean Connery-based Superman character Vartox. Well, I'm just going to tell you the whole thing. You got to read the blog. And I'm trying to get my numbers up because right now I have a lot of views from the Netherlands. So apparently, those bots over there really like me.
I'm not supporting anyone else's stuff. No one went to my suno.ai to look at my published songs that I've been making for a forthcoming album. So all hurt my feelings.
I didn't know about that. I'm sorry.
It's in the group chat that you don't participate in.
I'm sorry. Other than random stories that I try to tell about my kids, if I can negotiate the rights from them.
What are they, like Dennis Leary's wife? The rule is you can't talk about us on your show?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
But I do. I occasionally go through the books I've hoarded over the years on Free Comic Book Day for Free Comic Friday. I look at movies and comics I've acquired at Dollar Tree over the years. I'm really cheap. And, try to do a few things to tie in and synergize with various and sundry movies coming out. Like the time I recognized the anniversary of the release of Hope Floats with a review of the movie Chinese Speaking Vampires. So, *51.blogspot.com. As I usually say on Jesse's shows, if you like my ideas but hate the sound of my voice, that's the website for you.
Giggity. Well, folks, this has been another edition of Comic Stripped. He's Evan Bevins, good to his mother, some language. I need to go TikTok live so I can watch Usyk versus Dubois 2. Be well, be safe, and behave.